Gayle, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's so nice to be here and to be able to chat and share my story.
Yes, Gayle is joining us today. She was pregnant at 42 and 45. And
Yes.
I think we are going to share her story at 45 and then reference her pregnancy at 42. So take us back. You had your daughter. Were
Yes.
you preparing and planning to have a second?
We'd been, well, I think she was probably about two, and I was like, okay, what are we going to be doing? Like, what are we thinking? And I am from a family of four kids, and my other half is also he's one of five. So we were both from big families, and it was I always wanted a sibling because I have a really close bond with my siblings, and I have that family unit. And I was like, I just couldn't imagine an only child. I definitely wanted another. I think Dean was just my other half is called Dean, getting his head around it, really, about having another one. But yeah, he was definitely up for it if I could, because I think this is the time to say that my other half is 9 years younger than me.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So I'm an original cougar. We've been together for almost 17 years. So, I was definitely ready for the kids and stuff before him.
hmm Did you track your ovulation and any of that stuff to help you get pregnant?
I think at first we didn't. I didn't because with my daughter Roxy, I hadn't really tracked it. I think I'd just gone into the like, we're just going to have sex a lot type type mode. That's what we did when I was pregnant the first time. We were like, right, let's just go back for it. Let's just go. This is what happened the first time. We're going to go and just have sex at all times. I think I'd got to the stage when I was getting pregnant with Roxy that I was like, literally, we're going to have sex every night, even if you don't like me. Even if we've had an argument, you know what I mean? We're still gonna be having sex tonight. And then a friend, and it was sort of working. I didn't feel like we were in sort of a panic or a rush or anything. There's so many conflicting things, isn't it, going on in your head when you're trying to get pregnant, because you're like, I don't want to like just be rushing and trying. You don't want to put too much pressure on it, because then it doesn't become a fun thing to do, does it? Like, come on, we have to do this. And also you want to talk about it. You don't want to talk about it all the time. You don't want it to have to take over your lives. You want to be relaxed and be like, oh, if it happens, it happens, blah blah blah. You try, that's what you try. But also in your head, you are also saying, oh my God, we need to get this, we need to get going, we need to get going. I'm getting older, and also I don't want a massive gap between my first and second if it happens, and all these things going on in your head. But you're trying to be like, it's like a swan, isn't it? You're like, oh, I'm gonna be fine, I'm gonna be zen. Then I did download like a period tracker app for my phone, so I could see the days that it told me I was definitely ovulating and ripe, which I use quite a lot. So I was like, right, okay, now we can see. And then I think sometimes in your head, you're like, oh, when you start looking at that tracker, you're like, well, listen, we've only really got. And I remember saying to Dean, I went, listen, we're going to have, if we have sex every night. But look, according to this, it's almost like you've got 7 days a month or something. Like, it's actually a very short period of time, isn't it? Officially, I mean, officially, I believe it can happen at any time. But if you start looking at those apps, it's like, this is the time. And I'm like, if we don't do it now, if you're out, if you've gone out for the night and I'm busy the next night, we've missed 2 nights. That's a whole of the month gone. So then you start thinking, okay, let's just do it all the time. Then we start going back to the method of having sex every night method. I think we sort of had a break a little bit. Maybe not a break, we just relaxed. Actually sort of took the pedal off a bit. We probably took the pedal off, and it wasn't happening. So I decided that I was going to bite the bullet and go to the doctor, because I was like, we can't just keep going at this and it not working. If it's not possible anymore, I need to know. I need to have the knowledge and the power. But that scared me, obviously, because again, it's information you want to know and don't want to know at the same time.
Definitely.
There came to a point where I had to know. I thought, what, I don't know. So I went to the doctor. Here in London, it's just my regular GP. I'd actually stayed with even though we'd moved house in between my two pregnancies. I actually stayed with the same doctor from my previous house, because I think once you know sort of your doctors, it's nice to stay with the same people.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I was like, well, if I get pregnant again, they have community midwives there. And I don't know if you understand what I mean by when I say community midwives. It means that in certain places all across the UK, certain areas have what you call community midwives, and it literally depends on where you live. It isn't like, oh, that's a really like posh area or a poor area. It's literally wherever you live, in whatever doctors you're associated with or council you're associated with. The community midwives, it's more like when you meet the midwife team, more often than not, you will see the same midwife throughout your pregnancy. And that midwife will potentially, if she's available, be at the birth of your child. So you get to know the same midwife all the way through.
That's nice.
Yeah. I thought it was a thing. I just thought that was how it goes, because obviously that my doctors has community midwives. And then I started talking to other people and I was like, yeah, and they were like, oh my God, we've never met the person. Do you know what I mean? And so I feel lucky that this is where I live. So I was like, I'm going to stay to the same doctors. Anyway, so I went to have, it was a blood test for fertility, but to check my levels.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor was like, yeah, we can check. So I was to have a blood test on day 13 of my ovulation and day 21 to check the levels. So I was like, okay, we'll just carry on and we'll wait for the results. It wasn't a long wait, maybe a week, maybe a couple of weeks, maybe even less. And I remember we were in the park and she phoned me and she said, oh yeah, real cash. When they phone you in a real casual manner. Yeah, Gayle, there's nothing wrong. You should be completely fine. I think she said your estrogen is a little bit high. But here's the thing, I was still breastfeeding Roxy. I am here to break the myths. I have breastfed basically the whole time. You can get pregnant when you're breastfeeding. Anyway, so she was like, yeah, it's completely fine. I'll see you. We'll do the next test on day 21. I never went back to get my day 21 test because I was already pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
And I think that's why my estrogen was a little bit high, because I was actually already pregnant. And I also feel that once I relaxed and went and took that decision to sort of go, I am going to go to the doctors and sort of see if I'm okay to carry another child to get pregnant, my body just relaxed a bit.
Wow.
And I got pregnant.
So how long did it take?
I'd say on and off. I mean, on and off a year. Let's think. We were engaged the year before. So yeah, I'd say a year and a bit, maybe, of like on and off trying, and then really trying, and then like, oh, okay, everything's fine, and then relaxing. I think having spoken to a lot of other, and this comes from also from speaking to my other half about it, about the pressure. It's a two people thing, getting pregnant, and I think they feel it as much as you do. And yeah, I think once we relaxed a little bit, yeah, I was lucky enough to get pregnant with number two.
Wow. So were you just late on your cycle? Is that what prompted you to think you were pregnant?
I think that like with Roxy, I sort of knew. And Dean always says he sort of knows. I just think I just never had another period. I just didn't have another period. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to check.
Uh-huh.
So
And
I did just a home test.
mhm. And what were your thoughts when you saw that positive pregnancy test?
Oh, it's just, beautiful, happy relief and joy, I guess.
Mhm.
But also then the fear.
Yes.
It's like happy and joy and fearful. Oh my God.
All of them.
All over her, the anxiety, that sort of anxiousness, and you want to relax and really enjoy it, but you are, yeah, an excitement. And I was just really happy that I was going to be able to do it all again. But I am that person that doesn't really tell a lot of people until we have got to that 3 months.
Okay. The second trimester.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
till we've had a scan and seen. I don't know how it goes there, but you have to wait a certain time before a scan and then another scan, unless you obviously pay for as many scans as you want. But on the NHS, you wait a certain period of time. So yeah, we always waited until the 3 months before we sort of started sharing it with everyone. I mean, I told close friends and my family. Did I even tell? I mean, I still wait. We still keep it a little bit. We keep it as for us for a bit. And obviously,
Yeah.
I didn't want to tell Roxy, my daughter. I'm going to tell you a really funny thing. And this is the thing. This is what happened. It's all coming back to me now. So she was at nursery. And I dropped Roxy. I dropped her off at nursery. And when I picked her up, the nursery teacher said to me, "Oh, Roxy says you're pregnant. Congratulations." And I was like, "Oh, oh, great. I'm not." And she said, "Oh, she's completely adamant that you're pregnant." I was like, "Oh, well, I hope to be soon, but I'm not pregnant." That was the week later I did the test. She knew. I know,
Wow.
I know. Why did she tell? I mean, I don't know. I hadn't even done the test, so she was right.
Wow. Even a
I know.
kid's intuition.
Oh, yeah. If you know my Roxy, if you knew my Roxy, everyone would be like, "Yeah, of course Roxy knew."
Wow. That's amazing.
Oh, I was like, and also I'd entered a competition to win like a Mother's Day competition, like a bundle for some nice products and some clothing for when you're pregnant. And I'd entered and I won. And I gave it the whole prize, which was quite a really like decent, like go to a shop, buy some pregnancy outfits, some lotions, and like a really nice gift. The Sunday, it was Mothering Sunday, and I said to my friend, "Oh, here." She was about 4 or 5 months pregnant at the time, maybe a bit more, and I gave the prize to her.
Oh, how
Like,
fun.
I didn't know, and then 48 hours later, I knew I was pregnant, and she was like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "Of course you're keeping it. You're keeping it. You're keeping it." And to this day, she enters competitions for me. Like, "I'm going to win it back one day. One day I'm going to get you a prize."
Trying to pay you back for that.
Yes. She's
How
like, "Oh my
sweet.
God." Yeah.
That's sweet. Well, tell us, how was the pregnancy?
It was great. I actually really enjoy being pregnant. I enjoy I don't know, I feel really free and confident. And also you get treated really nicely everywhere you go. And I completely lean into that. I But on the flip side, I also have the worry and like, is everything going to be all right? Is everything going to be all right? Is everything going to be all right? You deep dive into ridiculous stuff on the internet, and the more you are into motherhood, especially being, this is my second, the stories of heartbreak were at the forefront of my mind, more so than with my first, because I wasn't so surrounded by other women that were pregnant or had kids, whereas suddenly in the second you're amongst it a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And you're sort of more aware of things that can go wrong. And I was worried. I think the more you desperately want something to be true, you almost don't believe it until you're holding a baby in your arms. And I think that, and you sort of sometimes don't allow yourself to be like fully like in it or in love, or until the final moment, even when you see a baby on this. I mean, when you see the scans, yeah. Otherwise, apart from that, I'm a geriatric mum. I don't know what the name that you have in the States, but
Same.
is it the same?
Mm-hmm.
So I was immediately given a consultant. So what they do, they give you a consultant, and they're like, okay. And I was like, okay, this is the second time I've done this, and I'm going to have to go and sit in the wait for another appointment with a consultant. And they would say, okay, why are you here? Have you been told to come here? Like, the only appointment you're having is because you're old. As in, like, that's the reason you're here. There's nothing else wrong with you. You're here having a consultant because you're old. You're in that bracket. And I was like, yeah. So once they were giving me tests and stuff, they were like, okay, there's nothing else wrong with you, for want of a better word. And they were like, if something flags up, your midwives will flag it up. So you don't need to come to another appointment unless your midwives tell you that you should.
Good.
But I do feel like, although the term is somewhat derogatory,
mm-hmm.
Completely unnecessary, I feel like there just needs another word for it, because it's almost like on your notes, they're like, it's giving them an extra reason to check on you. And I'm like, if I'm here for all the checks, check away, because I want to make sure that this baby is here and safe. Although I'm not here I don't love the actual term, and women are having babies a lot later now, and I do believe it does sort of make them check you a bit more. And yeah, I'm sure women that are my age need those consultancy appointments, those extra appointments, to make sure everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, had probably maybe only once I had to go in for when the midwife can't hear the heartbeat with her little like stethoscope thing, and they're like, you need to I can hear but it's faint, you need to check, deciding where the baby was lying, if it's lying behind your placenta or something. But they need it to be like on a machine rather than in the doctors. You have to go to the hospital. But
I bet that was worrisome.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I'll just walk to the tube and then get the tube. Sometimes you do those crazy things like, why didn't I get a cab? Why did I get a taxi?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, oh, I'm okay. And I remember coming out of the cab and coming out of the tube station and seeing someone I hadn't seen for ages, and like arriving in their arm, like, oh my God, oh, and started bawling probably as I met them.
Yeah.
But again, I had a lovely hug, went to the hospital, and they looked at me as if to say, everything's fine here. Like, and you're like, oh God, okay. I just had a nice worry for an hour and a half. And then they're like, okay, pop you on the machine, and they check and you have to sit on the machine.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's for an hour to check your blood pressure, the heart rate, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And what the hospital thinks and what your doctors think, it can be slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand they're very busy, and there's women there literally having I'm lying in one cubicle, and there's a woman next to me in the next cubicle, the curtain along. And the doctor just went, "You're having the baby now," like literally, like, and her husband was there, and I think two or three of her, I think at least two other kids were with her, and she was so calm and relaxed, and I was like, I'm going to be channeling this
Yeah.
this other woman. I was like, yes, you just let's be zen.
So did she have the baby right then?
No, they sort of wheeled them in. This is the main. It wasn't like there wasn't women having babies around me. They took her into like the ward or a birthing room or something. But yeah, they were like, let's move you now. Like, she wasn't even like moaning or anything. Right?
What about finding out the gender? Did you do that during pregnancy?
Yeah, we hadn't for my first. We hadn't found out. No, we wanted a surprise. Well, I think we wanted a surprise. Yeah, we were like, let's have a surprise. There's not a lot of things you get that it's going to be a complete surprise. In my heart, I really wanted a girl. And again, I just wanted to be happy that it was a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So we didn't find out the first. And I remember giving birth and with my daughter, and the midwife, her head was out, and the midwife said to Dean, my other half, "Oh, what do you think? I think it's a girl. Do you think it?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, I think it's a girl." Oh. I think it gave me that extra push.
Yeah.
That last bit.
Yeah, I
She
want to
also had
do the
loads
same
of
thing.
She also had hair, lots of hair, and the midwife went like this to the top of her head and like pulled the hair and said up from, and she said, "Look, you can feel." And so I was able to put my hand down and feel the top of her hair.
Oh, neat.
I know. So sorry, I've completely forgotten what the question was. What was the question? Oh, the gender.
Yes.
Gender. Did I find out? So yeah. So again, my daughter was adamant that I was going to be having a girl, and I was saying to Dean, I went, the thing is, we better find out. Should we find out? Because if it's not a girl, she might be like really disappointed. Like, as in, like, we don't want to be building up. Maybe we should find out this time round so we can start saying, no, actually, it's definitely a boy. If it's a boy or a girl. I felt like this is our second pregnancy. We probably weren't going to have any others, and more like let's do everything slightly different, because then we've had experience of everything. We've had experience of not knowing, and then now we're going to have experience of knowing. So we did find out that we were having a boy at the scan, that they can do the gender reveal.
Mm-hmm. How was that?
I looked at Dean and I was like, because he really wanted a boy, and he wouldn't ever say that, but I know, of course, he really wanted a boy. And when it was, I think the midwife was like, "Look, well, that's not a leg. Look at that. Like, that's definitely." She's like, "It's definitely a boy." Like, looking at the screen, and Dean was like, "Oh," Dean was real. And I think I remember looking at Dean, and then I burst into tears looking at Dean rather than the scan, because his face of just like of joy.
Mm-hmm.
And again, then I was in like, oh, I know I'm having a boy. It's really weird. I'm growing a boy. I've got a boy inside me. It was, I don't know, it felt weirder for me having carried a girl and then to be having a boy. I remember saying to my friend, I'm like, I've got a willy inside me. I'm growing a willy. It's really weird. And she was looking at me, but yeah, and I don't want to say I was disappointed, but I was like, if I'm only going to be able to have 2 kids, I was like, do I want another girl so they're really close and they have each other and they're like sisters, because I'm really close to my sisters. I love my brother too, if you're listening, but I was really like, do I want my daughter to have that really close sister bond? And if I'm only going to have one of the baby, do I want another girl? So I did have that feeling as well. So it was a weird feeling finding out that I was having a boy. I obviously soon came around to it. And
Yeah.
it was fine. It's not like I was disappointed. It was just loads of mixed feelings and mixed
Yeah.
emotions. And then suddenly I was excited about it in a whole new way, because again, it was going to be completely different, and everything was going to be different and new, rather than sort of doing the same again. It was all going to be different again. So yeah, it was so nice. And then and one of my best friends, her and her brother get on, are best friends, and I was like, oh, they're going to be like that, it's going to be fine. There's lots of brothers and sisters that get on really well.
Yeah. So tell us, which way do you prefer? Finding out or a surprise?
Oh, I don't know. I think that it's quite nice. We didn't really okay, so when we found out, we didn't tell anyone. We kept it to us.
Oh, okay.
So again, it was a secret for us to have. We obviously told Roxy in a way as if to say, no, we know it's a boy, Roxy. It's definitely a boy. And she was like, oh, okay. She sort of got it. I said, well, look, this picture, can you see where it says it's a boy? It's definitely a boy in Mummy's tummy. But then we thought, oh, she's just going to go around telling everyone it's a boy. But she didn't. And then we didn't really tell anyone. I think I probably slipped up slightly a couple of times. I slipped up massively, like the week after, on my family WhatsApp group. And I was like, delete, delete, delete. I'd made some comment about my nephew. I was like, oh, you're not going to be the only boy. I was like, what am I doing? Like, because there's only girls and there's him. What are you doing? And I deleted it. And then I didn't delete it for everyone. And you just delete it for yourself. I was like, I did it too quickly. So my little sister was like, obviously this is a boy. But it's like everyone else in the family just forgot.
They didn't even realize it.
They just didn't really register. I was like, no. And then my son was like, was this a massive hint? No. I just meant he's the boy in the family. I was like, yeah. But yeah, so we didn't tell anyone. I told a couple of really close friends that I was going to be spending a lot of time with, like some a couple of work people, because I would just naturally slip up. But yeah, we didn't really tell lots of other people. Then we had to think of a boy's name, and that was a good job. I feel like it's a good job we needed all the time in the world, because it felt 10 times harder.
I get that. And what about products? Was there anything that helped you through pregnancy that you could recommend?
I wanted to recommend the things of getting pregnant, and then things that I continue to take. So we are also all told to make sure that we take folic acid. But my friend who lived in another country at the time, she was like, yeah, but when you get folic acid over the counter here, or like the normal stuff, it's only 5 milligrams. And she said, make sure you get it in a higher dosage. So I did. Did it help me? Maybe it did, but I'm here for all the things that may have helped me and may not have helped me. So yeah, I took folic acid at, I think, at 10 milligrams rather than 5. With like the higher percentage. Also, there's something called cozyme Q10. And I never mentioned no one, well, in a normal GP scenario, not mentioned. And my friend who lives in another country had said that her doctor had told her to take that, and I started taking that.
And how did you prepare this time for baby and birth?
Well, I was working. I've always worked sort of for myself, so I was able to sort of not do. I never have done like a 9 to 5 type job. I prepared by looking through all her clothes and seeing which ones a boy could wear. I guess that sort of thing. I didn't do lots of other prep, really. I just carried on my normal life, really.
What about classes? Did you need classes this time around?
No, I didn't take any classes. I don't think we didn't even I didn't go to any antenatal classes, any NCT classes, nothing.
Were you preparing for vaginal birth?
Yes, but I didn't really have a birth plan. I wanted to be relaxed about it because I know that birth plans don't often go to plan. It's like they call it a birth plan, but really it's anything can happen as long as there's a baby at the end of it. I'm good with that.
Yep.
So that was my plan. I was like, whatever happens and however they are earthside in a healthy way, that's good for me. And that's what I say. I'm like, I wasn't overly planned. I didn't want it in a certain way. So because they knew Roxy was so fast, this is what we had to plan for. Because once your first is fast, the second is probably going to be fast as well. Because I was, in the geriatric form, older mum, they immediately when I was pregnant, they were like, oh, well, we'll get you to 35 weeks. They were like saying, I was like, hang on a minute. I want to go as far as I can go. I don't want to. Can we talk about that at 32 weeks or 33? I don't really want to be having that conversation at 12 weeks or 20 weeks or whatever, 28 weeks. I want to get to the, early 30s and then start making decisions about what we need to do and because let's see how my pregnancy goes before we start like making decisions about what's going to happen at the end of it. So I was like, that's the only thing that I said. I said, I'm not going to make any decisions until it comes closer to the edge. And they were like, oh, okay, that's fine. And they were like, okay. And then I think at about, he was due in November. And it was just the beginning of November. And they did a size test, when they predict how big your baby's going to be. And they were like, oh, they kept saying, oh, he's going to be big, he's going to be big. I feel like he's going to be a big baby. And I was like, oh God, okay. And then, so they were like, so you shouldn't go over a certain amount of time. So I then spent, the later it got, I remember sitting in one of those waiting rooms, waiting to see a midwife and them going, well, we don't, because of things that can go wrong, we don't really want you to go much further in the pregnancy. He's going to be big and we don't want you to go much further. So we're going to look at induction. And I was like, okay, I didn't really want to do it. But again, I am of the ilk, I wanted everything to be okay and safe. But I still wanted it to be in the same sort of environment as Roxy had been born, in that lovely room. I'm like, this is the sort of thing that I really want. So they were like, well, I tell you what we'll do, we'll speak to the consultant and we'll speak to the head midwife. So we had an appointment with the head midwife. I was like, but they want to induce me on like Thursday afternoon and it's already Tuesday. Can I see her beforehand? Like, when am I going to see it? Like, it's Tuesday now and they want to induce me on Thursday. And they were like, right, we've got you an appointment on Thursday morning. But come in ready to have a baby. Like, so like, okay, which is really weird for me. Like, I didn't feel, I wanted it to be in the natural way, but I didn't know what an induction would look like or how it would work.
How far along were you?
I was like 36, 37 weeks. So I was quite close. It wasn't like it wasn't like it was like a month early or anything like that. I just felt like, because I'd done it before, I didn't really want them to tell me what to do, but also I wanted to be in a safe place. So I wanted to speak to the head midwife. And so I had that appointment with her. And she was very matter of fact, that those sort of almost like, right, they come in and go, right. It's like, okay. So she checked me and she also gave me a sweep as well. I might as well give you a sweep while I'm here. I'm like, oh, okay. She was like, right, well, everything's fine. And I've given you a sweep and you're obviously going to have a baby very soon. She said, if you go home, if you go home today, you'll probably have a baby over the weekend. But if you go home, because you were so quick last time, you might not be able to get here. So what they were saying was that if I just went home and went into labour, whether I would be able to get to the hospital in time in a safe way to then have a baby when I hadn't planned for a home birth, whether it was going to be possible. I didn't really want to have a baby like in an ambulance on the road, or like, you know, Dean was like, I don't really want to be like on my own catching a baby. So she said, what I can do is break your waters for you, right? I can do it right now. And again, it's just one of those really weird scenarios where I was like, okay, so Roxy's staying at a friend's house, so she's okay, because we thought it might happen, the induction might happen. So we'd sort of arranged for her to stay over. And she was like, yeah, then. And I was like, so you're going to break my water, so I'm then going to have a. She was like, yes, so then you will have your baby today.
Whoa. It's so surreal.
Yeah, it is. I was like, okay. And I said, in this room, in this room, I said, if you do it, can we stay in this room? And she went, hang on a minute. And she went out to check. And she said, yes. She went, there's no one else booked. You can stay in this room and have your baby here in this room, which was a home from home room, which is what I wanted. The room next door to where I'd had Roxy.
Oh, that's neat.
Oh, no. So I was like, the same. And the hospital, it is amazing. The view from these massive windows in this room is of the Houses of Parliament and Big Ben.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're talking like, this is a London baby. Welcome to the world. This is this is here it is. Yeah. So I was one room down and I was like, okay, we can stay here. We know where Roxy is. So she broke my waters. And which again was amazing because they do it with, like, you know, for want of a better, it's like a crochet needle or a knitting needle. They just, I don't think Dean even realized it had happened. He said, when are they going to do it? I said, she's already done it.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, that's it. It wasn't like, I don't know, it was as simple as that. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, because obviously I was ready. They were just giving me a little like, we're going to happen, let's do it now, rather than like 24 hours later and it be like, so yeah. So then I went into labor. Not straight. I was like, oh, this is really weird. Now I'm just waiting. Now I'm sort of in this room waiting. So I said, right, Dean, go and get some food. So he went to the shop in the hospital and got loads of like this buffet selection of like, and they don't know what to get, so he just sort of gets everything. Loads of food, put it on the window. I remember the window ledge of this big windows. we listened to music. It was quite nice, to be fair, because it was like, this is the time that you have with your other half. And when you have other kids, and it's always like, it's them and them and something else in your life, to have that couple of hours where we just sort of chatted and listened to the radio and ate random bits of food. I mean, he ate. I was like, I don't know if I was, and I stood there with a towel in between my legs, sort of going, because when someone breaks your waters, it's quite a lot. It's sort of like a gush, and then suddenly it sort of keeps coming. And every time I stood up, and I'd never had that build up before, because I'd gone straight into like full on contractions with Roxy. I hadn't had like such a build up, and I was like, oh, this is really weird. Am I having contractions? I hadn't worked it out. And after about an hour or so, the midwife came in and she was like, let me check. She's like, yeah, okay, still everything's fine. You're coming. She's like, are you having contractions yet? And I was like, I don't think so. Anyway, she later says, you were definitely having contractions. She was like, your pain threshold is obviously like really high. And I'm just like, oh God, it's really uncomfortable for a minute. It's really uncomfortable. Oh, it's weird.
Wow.
And because contractions come and go, it's not like, it's a really weird pain to describe, because it's not like a constant pain. Like if you break, if you hurt your arm or you hurt yourself, it's like, oh, it's constant till it goes away. Whereas a contraction is like pain, 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 relief, pain, and then because I was always going back into relief, I was like, oh, okay, just like, and then suddenly, I remember she'd gone out the second time or whatever, and I called her back in. I was like, okay, now, we're going now. This is it. She was like, oh my God, I was meant to call your midwife. She then calls the midwife, that my community midwife, and my community midwife said she has never got to the hospital so quickly. She was like, I knew I needed to be at your birth because like you were going to be super fast, and I got in my car like sped down, and my midwife walks into the room and almost catches Monroe. Like she was probably, maybe, it felt like to me she was only actually in the room maybe 5 or 10 minutes. It might have been longer because whatever, but it feels like, and I was over the bed in a weird position. I was like sort of standing up, and it was really uncomfortable, and then I was like, no, I need to be on my back with my legs in the air. And she was like, slow down. I was like, that there's no slowing down, like this baby is arriving. And she was like, whoa there, and then out he popped. Dean says it was almost comedy.
Wow.
Like, because he shot out. So that, in a way, I'm glad they sort of made me make that decision to have him there on that day, because there's no way I would have wanted that even quicker on my own, like with Dean.
Yeah. What do you think causes you to have your baby so quickly?
I don't know. I mean, I do have a high pain threshold, and maybe I'm sort of having contractions beforehand. But I really have no idea. I have no idea, because I don't really have it in. I don't know. My mum has 4, and a couple of us were quick. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like, but no one warned me. No one in my family said, "Oh, we all have our babies quick." It was never talked about. So I have really no idea. I mean, I ate loads of those dates to have a really soft cervix.
That's really impressive. So how long did this one take?
It felt like a few hours. Again, it was a few hours, maybe.
Wow. That's amazing.
Well, it's amazing.
How was your recovery?
The recovery with Monroe. So I had him sort of like at 8 o'clock in the evening. And so we went home the following afternoon. Yeah, the following afternoon. And we like to sort of, like we say here about staying in the love bubble as long as possible. It's almost like not going out, not having everyone round all the time, and not having visitors, just being just you and your family for as long as possible. So that's what we did, and we stayed. Yeah, I mean, I just hung out. And also I think because it was November, it is, it's getting dark. It's a lot easier to stay inside and just snuggle down and be cozy and like watch TV and lie in bed. So my recovery from the actual birth was quite I would say was great. I was fine. I didn't really have any pain, or I mean, for me, the birthing of the placenta after the birth is just as painful as the birth. Maybe because I'm more aware of it, and there wasn't a baby, and there was like they sort of had push it out. Dean is great at not letting me do a lot, and I did a lot of lying in bed, and we had some friends take Roxy to nursery and stuff, so we could just hang out together. And yeah, it was really nice. It was really nice. I didn't feel anything worse, even though being older than I was with Roxy. It didn't feel like, oh, it took a longer time or anything like that. And I also think that once you don't really I mean, when you have your first, you can do that sort of lounging around a lot more.
Mhm.
Lean into that as much as you possibly can. When you have a second, but you have a smaller child, you still have to sort of be attentive to them. So you don't get to do it as much as you would with your first child. So it was a lot of sort of all lounging around on the sofa together, which was really lovely.
Yeah. And tell us, how was breastfeeding? Because you have an amazing story.
Yeah, I was completely lucky. I understand I am very lucky that with both of my children, they latched on straight away. Like we're talking like straight out of me and onto my boob. Yes, they both latched on. That doesn't mean that they almost. I want to say that the baby has to sort of learn how to do it, and you have to learn how to do it as well. Even if they go for the boob straight away, which they sort of almost instinctively do, which is also a weird phenomenon that they can sort of just appear and they'll be like, right, there's the boob and I want to be on it. I didn't have any problems with Roxy whatsoever. I mean, all the midwives would come round and would show the technique, and I remember we'd be looking for the babies a little underneath their chin to be moving and going. And so with Roxy, it was fine. What I haven't said is that I kept breastfeeding Roxy until she was 3. So I got pregnant with Monroe when I was still breastfeeding. And when I say breastfeeding at 3, I don't mean like full every day all the time like you do when they're young. But, in the evening, during the night, the putting them to bed, to comfort them. It's a power, it's a tool. I mean, breastfeed, if you can, to be able to breastfeed for as long as possible, it it gives you a power that you are able to sort of comfort them, immediately. So I know that I'm completely blessed that I'm able to do that. I was able to do that for so long. And then she sort of, I would say, just naturally stopped, and I was pregnant with Monroe. And then Monroe again latched on perfectly normal. And then I would say about when he was about 3 or so weeks, he got reflux, silent reflux, which is awful, and it's just an awful thing. And silent reflux is where they don't sick up, they're not sick, because if you get reflux, you're like, oh, they're sticking up everything, He would bring it up, and then swallow it back down. And you can imagine, if you've had reflux yourself, how awful that must be, because you're not getting rid of that horrible, like, oh, that taste or that feeling of that acid burn or whatever you get when you've got that indigestion and stuff, the reflux you get. But yeah, he wasn't. And also it's silent because he's not really crying. He just looked really sad.
Oh,
He looked real, and I was like, oh God, he looks really sad. I'm meant to be comforting him. I feel like I'm not comforting him because he looks really sad.
so what'd you
For
do?
ages. Well, so I did everything that I possibly could. You feed them and again, it takes away that, oh, I'm just going to nurse them for ages and they're going to relax. And you can't do that. You nurse them for a little bit, and then you sort of have to take them off your boob and lift them up. So you could only have a little bit of milk at a time, and then you take them off and like put them up over your shoulders so they're upright, which is again is awful because you can't relax into nursing, but also you need to feed them, but also it's then painful for them because they need to eat, but also they get the reflux from it. And when they're really little, you can't really do much. There's not a lot of like drugs that are going to work. What you're doing is soothing them, and I'm soothing them with lights, with music, with literally holding him. He would be asleep, I was lying asleep up, and he would lie on my chest or on my face. There's loads of pictures of her. He's literally on my face, like lying on my face. So he's so upright. There's also like a little mattress thing that you can get that lifts his whole they're lying their mattress up, so he's always at a tilt. There's the seat that they can sit in that keeps them in that sort of sit up position rather than lying down. Anything, you will do anything and try every little trick that you ever hear or read or ask loads of people. Luckily, when I had him, it was November 2019, so 3 months. I had 3 months out before we went into lockdown, first lockdown here of COVID. So I was lucky enough to have that sort of month with him, and then have a couple of months, sort of January and February, sort of out and about, being able to speak to other mothers and get any advice that I possibly could of what I could do to help him and help myself, and what would work. And he will grow out of it. Oh, I also completely gave up dairy. I gave up dairy because apparently that's meant to help. So no milk and cheese and stuff for me.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, especially after you've gone so long pregnancy without like eating loads of like, oh, I'm gonna not eat this or whatever, and then you like, oh no, now I'm gonna not have any dairy. No cheese though, come on. Cheese. Milk I can live without, but cheese no.
So how long was it before he grew out of that?
I'd say, so let's say, I'd say 6 months, at least 6 months.
Wow.
It was hard. Yeah, it was a really tough time because again, you are getting less sleep than ever.
Yeah.
And you feel like what you naturally do, what I was naturally doing, feeding him, breastfeeding him, wasn't giving him comfort. And that was really, really hard for me. Really hard.
And so how long have you been breastfeeding total?
That's basically 7 years.
That's amazing.
Because I was like, yeah, I mean, is there a world record I should be going for, right?
I don't know.
I think I only gave, yeah, I wasn't, the only time I wasn't breastfeeding was the time that I was pregnant with Monroe and Roxy had given up. So there was probably, maybe a 4 or 5 month gap, maybe. And Monroe now is still, I mean, there's still milk in my boobs, but I don't think there's very much left. I feel like most of it is him, just comfort. Is comfort in the evening, but even so, it's less and less and less now. And now he will ask for it.
How funny.
His booby, mummy, please booby.
Oh, wow. So when do you think you'll stop? Are you just going to let him wean off whenever he wants to?
I think so. I mean, he's at nursery. It's not like throughout the day and stuff like that. It's mostly like if we get home and he's really tired, he'll say, come to the sofa, mummy, sofa. Like he wants to go to the sofa and have a snuggle. Or if he's in the middle of the night. So it's not a lot. It's not a lot now. I'm hoping that he will sort of just slowly. I think soon, Jamie, to be honest. I mean, he's just 4. It's gonna be soon.
Yeah. And mentally, after you had him, how were you?
I think mentally, definitely, it was different for me the second time round. I think the first time I was completely elated. The elation was next level, and I had a lot of work stuff going on, but again, people would be like, oh, I could still do my work I didn't have maternity leave because I worked for myself, but I could take Roxy with me in a very relaxed, easy way. I would do a consultation with someone, and she would be lying next to me. And it was all just lovely and wonderful. And someone said, oh, it's like you just got a new handbag. That's what they said to me. She was so good for ages. Whereas I just didn't have that with Monroe because of the reflux. It wasn't quite as relaxed. And he was upset more. I was getting less sleep. I was just more knackered.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't have enough sleep, everything feels 10 times worse.
Yeah.
Everything. And again, I felt like, oh, I can't feed him in the way without him being sad. He's just really sad. Look at him. He looks really sad. And I think that really, yeah, it definitely really affected me. It was hard. It was hard. And then you're sort of keeping the family together. You're keeping everyone, like the family, your unit, and you're still being happy because you've got a new baby and a toddler. And then we went into COVID, which again was super hard because then you don't have that support network around you. You can't go out and just, it's not even, I mean, it's not like I was really that sort of person that I would be like, oh, I'm going to be going to like loads of baby groups or stuff like that. I just wasn't that sort of person. But, I was always socially surrounded by other mums, women in a similar situation, people with kids. Just you generally are surrounded by them as you go about your daily business, and
Yeah.
suddenly not to have that at all, it was really hard and really sort of isolating. I mean, it's all very well chatting on a phone or a Zoom call or blah blah blah, but we all know it's not the same.
It's not the same.
No.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to add about your pregnancy or birth?
I want to let people know that it is possible, and you have to really believe that it is in your destiny, I guess. That just because it hasn't happened in your 30s, it doesn't mean that, or your 20s, it's not going to happen, in your 40s and beyond for some women. And to be able to give yourself knowledge and power and understand what's good for you, but do it with as least pressure as you possibly can on yourself. But I believe that I am totally blessed to be able to have had these two children, to be able to have breastfed. But it was my time. This was my time. It was my time, and has worked amazingly well for me, and I'm truly lucky.
Perfect. And do you have plans to have more kids in your 40s?
No, I think that we are done. If you'd asked me that question when I was maybe in my 30s, I would maybe have had more kids. But I'm tired now.
Mhm.
Uh,
Perfect. Now, I know a lot of people talk about age and doing the math, and a lot of people mentioning that other people are judging them and saying, well, when you're this old, but your daughter asked that question. Tell us about
she
that.
did. She did ask that question. She asked it last night. It's not the first time she's mentioned it. She talks about my age a lot and works it out. She's very clever. But she's sort of gone, she sort of said, oh, when you're 80, how old am I going to be? Am I going to be a proper grown up though? I think she's worried that she will still be a child, and I will be really old, like a grandma old, and be dying. And also I understand, I think there's parents at her school that are young enough to be my kids. One
Mhm.
of her friends' mums, is 30. I could be her mum. There are, and I said to her, I said, oh, but blah blah's mum, that she's in her 40s. Oh, okay. It was almost like, I think if she assumes other people are much younger and I'm the old mum, especially because Dean is 9 years younger than me. But yeah, it does make me sad, that she's thinking about that. That's the most sadness, that I don't want her to be carrying any sadness. But
Yeah.
also, of course, I did the math or whatever, and so I was like, god, I'm going to be that old when they're this old, or am I going to be around if they're having grandkids? If they don't, if they're like me and don't have their kids until they're 40. Do you know what I mean? How old am I going to be? You know, there's 101 questions that you could ask yourself, or you could say, but if you are not in the position to have had kids earlier, then this is where you find yourself, right?
Yeah.
It was never going to stop me having them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a really young 49.
That's right.
That's a really young 49.
And what has been your biggest challenge being pregnant in your 40s?
I don't think it's the actual pregnancy. I feel like it was afterwards. It's afterwards doing everything else. I think I would say that the advice I would give is to make sure you're like super fit.
Is there anything you'd recommend that would help prepare someone for pregnancy and birth?
I would recommend for actually getting pregnant. Again, I would take the folic acid at
Mhm.
the higher milligram. I would take the coenzyme 10. I would look at foods and that you could eat that were meant to help with giving birth. And I would recommend maybe looking into hypnobirthing.
Oh,
I didn't
yeah.
strictly do hypnobirthing, but I have a lot of, in fact, a couple of my friends are, one of my friends is a hypnobirth teacher. And you don't necessarily have to do hypnobirthing, but if you are sort of, you're open, if you are open to things going a certain way, but knowing that it's like your birth, your way, your pregnancy, your way. It's going to be different to everyone else's. It's not, there isn't a textbook for it. There isn't like, oh, it's going to go like this, and this. If you are relaxed in the way, my goal is to have my baby earthside safe and well and happy, then how it gets there, I'm relaxed and easy about it. I don't want to be like overstressed or feeling about, oh, it has to go a certain way. I have to have a vaginal birth or otherwise I failed. If it's a C-section, it doesn't matter. That's your experience. That's how your baby arrived, and that's okay. And
Mhm.
they're healthy, and tears. It's not going to matter. No one's going to be asking you later on. I think it's really weird that everyone focuses on that, like around, oh, what sort of birth did you have? But actually, later on, it doesn't really matter, does it?
Mm-mm.
Doesn't
Nope.
really matter at all how your baby arrived.
Yeah.
Well,
Now, what advice would you give yourself when you were pregnant if you could go back?
I would probably say when you're actually pregnant, to, I know people say to enjoy, you are pregnant for such a short time relatively in your life. And I think to really enjoy it, I think through the fact that I have a visually, especially through with social media, I was like, I'm going to take loads of pictures. I'm going to take the video. However you feel about the way you look on your body, you want to make sure that that is completely documented, because it's going to be something that's only going to happen maybe once or maybe twice. Like the first time it happened, I was like, this might only happen one time. I need to make sure that I soak it all in, like soak it all up. I might have said, relax a bit more and lie down, but I did, I really enjoyed being pregnant and going out and about and being pregnant and like showing it off. If you're pregnant, I would say make sure you wear a cat suit. Wear a cat suit and feel amazing in your body, because being pregnant, wearing a cat suit, everyone looks just amazing. I would do it. I have a sequin cat suit, and everyone needs one when they're pregnant.
Yeah.
Everyone needs one anyway. But like when you're pregnant and you're like, yeah, just have a cat suit, have a skin tight
Mm-hmm.
cat suit, and parade around.
I love it. Yours was great.
Yes, I have an amazing cat suit.
And where can we connect with you?
So I have two platforms on social media. One is my personal one where you will see me sharing my family and my kids and my parenting journey and things that my kids have said and my my opinions on I like thrifting. It's American, going to charity shops in England,
Mhm.
pre-love stuff. I like festivals and sequins and getting dressed up, and that's just under my name, which is Gayle Haddock. And then my business one is Hustle and Fox. That's the name of my business. And you will find me chatting all things small business and entrepreneurship and female founders and confidence and having confidence in yourself and your business. Yeah, on the Hustle and Fox Instagram.
Wonderful. Gail, it has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story.
Oh, thank you for having me. I absolutely loved it.